Time for some more touring car based street circuits I think now, in this series that really and truly is well past its sell by date by now. Like, come on everyone, how on earth after 36 episodes have you not got fed up of seeing huge skyscraper buildings, tunnel vision barriers, and of course, those 90-degree corners? Alas, it's still somehow going strong, but let's see if this circuit is the straw that breaks this series' back, as we're off to Germany at the track called the Ring, or as I'm going to call it in this video for the sake of word simplicity, Singen. Located in Baden-Württemberg, the same region which is the home of the Hockenheim Ring, Singen would host the DTM from 1991 to 1995 in what was not the most glamorous of locations, an industrial part of the city, even though this was known as DTM's version of Monaco, although that's mainly down to the nature of the track rather than the setting the track was based in. First up is quite an open 90-degree right-hander, although you're somewhat fooled into thinking that it's quite open because when you begin the lap on the York-Fischer Strasse, you are full of claustrophobia with an incredibly narrow portion of the circuit. You can fit two cars side by side, but it's a tight squeeze, and at the start of the lap, the nature of the first corner means you'll be replicating similar levels of traffic to what the roads would be like without the barriers, for 5 seconds. Sure, 5 seconds doesn't sound like a long time, but for a racing driver you might as well say to them, just wait there for the same amount of time it takes me to do a roast dinner. Also, whilst we're here, just have a look at the lack of barriers on the pit lane. You'd be forgiven for thinking that without the emergency vehicles there, that you could still use the road in civilian form. Now onto the Karl-Benz-Strasse, you do get a bit more road to play with, but it's not long before you get back on the anchors and brake hard for turn 2, which is another 90-degree right-hander. Oh no, I hope this isn't going where I think it's going. It's then onto a short burst of acceleration up to turn 3 on the Greifswaldstrasse? Probably messed that pronunciation up, so I'm sorry once again, where there is a 90-degree left-hander. Oh well, at least this time there's a bit of variety in the direction we're going. It's then onto the Bic Goldenstrasse, along which there's a bit of time to consider what you want to do next, or perhaps adjust the air vents until you need to brake again for a 90-degree right-hander. I'm just going to pretend that I didn't just say that and move on to turn 5 along the section called Pfaffenhaule, where there is a 90-degree right-hander. A 90-degree right-hander. Having what you feel at this point mastered the delicate art of taking 90-degree corners, you're on your way down the Robert Gerwig Strasse, where all seems normal, until you reach not quite the end of the straight, which has a very strange yet certainly effective speed breaker chicane. A flick to the left, and then try and keep as close as you can to the curb on the right hand side, without actually touching the curbs all that much. Clobber it too hard, and the car will get rather unsettled. At least this section was a challenge, and at the very least added some level of variety to the corners on this track. Of course, the entire point of this chicane being where it is to reduce the speed you take towards the barrier that comes up at you head on for this 90-degree left-hander. Once again, moving on as though I didn't say what I just said, and we're now onto the Strasse that doesn't actually have a name attached to it and is incredibly narrow. You can fit two cars side by side here, but does mean you'll have a very tricky time from a turning circle perspective for the next corner, which is quite possibly the second tightest hairpin that has ever been used on a racetrack. I'll leave you to guess what I rank as number 1 on that list. Put simply, whilst you can attempt passes here, the radius of the inside line means that you have such a shallow entry that in all likelihood you're going to have to engage reverse on the other side to avoid wall contact. You deliberately don't want to hit the apexes of this hairpin, as a wider entry will allow you to use more steering lock to get round the bend safely. And once you're on the straight and narrow, or rather Strasse and very narrow as it was only 9 metres wide on the start-finish straight, you come up towards the end of the lap. Yep, that's it, you've done all you need to do at this circuit. Just 8 turns to contend with, 3 to the left and 5 to the right, with the track measuring in at exactly 2.8 kilometres 1.74 miles in length. The crowd capacity was rumoured to be around 45,000 people. Although, if I'm honest, I wonder if there was scope for more. I have to imagine that most of that 45,000 figure were located in this grandstand on the start-finish line, as around the rest of the lap, there appears to have been hardly any seating areas at all, or even viewing areas in general. What's more, the track did just look as though it was located in the middle of nowhere on the back portion of the circuit. Some trees, and some small houses, but other than that, the place just seems very, in a way, desolate. I mean, sure does its interesting surroundings make it a unique location in respect of other street tracks in this series? I guess, but at the same time, one of the beauties of a street circuit is how you're able to kind of make a party/festival-like atmosphere. And unless you were on the start-finish straight, I can't see how that atmosphere would be instilled. I'd be happily proved wrong, so if on the off chance anyone watching this video went to one of these events, then say in the comment section what it was like. I'm genuinely intrigued. Now, after the 1995 season, the DTM, or ITC as it was then known, would no longer visit Singen. And despite attempts to bring it back, it never came to fruition. And what's more, the track would not be usable anymore, with new buildings being in and around where sections of the track used to be. So, if an unlikely return was on the cards, a different area would have to be found. In my opinion though, I'm glad that in all likelihood this won't make a return. Its lack of corner variety is a major sticking point. If by the end of these events you somehow hadn't mastered the art of going around 90-degree corners, then there's nothing else that can. Now, some people will compare this to the Norris Ring, and I can see why. However, for me, the Norris Ring is much wider, has much more character, is a greater challenge to race around, but fundamentally looks both more fun to hot lap around and actually have an exciting race around. Similar to the Norris Ring is what, in my opinion, Singen should have been. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm just going to head off and look in a mirror to make sure my eyeballs haven't turned into right angles. So, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, then I would be enormously appreciative if you did hit the like and subscribe button. Plus, if you have any other street tracks that you'd like to see featured in this series, then say in the comment section down below. However, until the next video, be kind to each other and enjoy the rest of your day.